So here's an introduction to what is coming your way the next 1 hour. She is Rasika Sampath. I call her from my heart Rasika Akka. So this is where my yoga journey begins. So you can only imagine if you think I get deep sometimes, if I get funnier sometimes, you from this podcast will realize that all this depth and funniness comes from much more inspired sources in my life. One more other person is my dad, which I will definitely bring in my podcast one day. So, very unfiltered, very raw, real conversation, capturing moments from our lives, from our shared journeys, and our practices. Go ahead and enjoy this. I loved it. I learned a lot from this. I'm sure you will love it as well. Thank you. I won't hold you further. Enjoy.
How are you?
I'm doing amazing. So I realized that from the previous podcast that the initial moments itself are very magical. So I started
Mm.
recording already. So
Okay,
used
great.
to share
So
from
much performance pressure.
yeah, that's why I wanted to ease it up, saying that this is how like we can just flow from here, or we can choose to start from any point from the recording. So you know how Zoom works because you have been the like pioneer of bringing yoga online. At least ever since I started, I
Fine.
was thinking of yoga, like in Chennai at least. Like back then, you were taking classes in Ratlan Gate, in Nungambakam, if I was not wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Hit when you shifted online. I think almost I started attending your class almost 1 year into COVID. So
yeah,
things were still, not sure. Like there was a second wave that was coming, and then the vaccines and everything was going on. So I feel like
yeah,
you have been around with this Zoom thing for a long time, comparative to me.
yeah,
Like, it's not in comparison with anybody else, but you know
yeah.
how.
No, actually, I think Corona is when people were in general forced to take things online. I didn't do it very voluntarily. I was forced to do it because the studio, all the other teachers were doing it, and they kind of pushed me into this whole Zoom thing. I had no idea how Zoom worked. I was a techno moron. I still am, I think, largely. But I sort of figured it out because I had no other way. I had to continue my classes. But yeah, I mean, I think it was such a big boon during COVID, and we don't give technology the credit that it deserves. A lot of times, I feel. I think this is a great platform, and throughout COVID, of course, but even after that, even now till date, I feel like, people have acclimatized to online classes very well because it works, it's very convenient for both the person teaching as well as the people learning. Of course, there's nothing like a in-person class, but in this time of busy schedules and distances and people living everywhere, it gives ready access. So that way it's great.
Yeah, so I just want to right away jump into how we decided, like let's do a podcast before itself. And
Hmm.
your current program, which I also attended the last, I think in January I did attend. So
Hmm.
no, I think I attended in December
You
itself.
did
The
the
very
21-day thing. I think
yeah,
that was
21.
last
Yeah,
year. Yeah.
last year. Yeah. So
Yeah, October. Hmm.
that is something very novel, and I really wanted to talk about it, and that's how this podcast kind of finally came through.
Hmm.
So I just want to share. I took this image up, and I wanted to share this also so that people viewing this initially itself know what we are talking about. So
Mm-hmm.
um, doing taking time out 15 minutes, I think, is possible in everybody's life. So before me talk about it, anything that's coming up as I show this image that you would like to share with people, feel free, come.
Yeah, like you keep saying, even when we were talking about doing this podcast, you said just let it flow. I
Yeah,
think the best things come when you just let things flow. And
Mm.
it that I think a result of what came with that flow was this idea. It was a combination of so many things. See, meditation is something that, to be very honest, I have struggled with, that I still struggle with a lot. I have no qualms about admitting it, even though I'm a yoga teacher and a practitioner for so many years. Sitting still with myself for an extended period of time and doing it consistently daily is something that I've always struggled with. And I always feel like, every time you struggle with something that you want to do, I think when you set accountability, uh,
Mm.
that kind of compels you to do that, especially for people who need that a little extra motivation, right? When you make yourself accountable to something, it forces you also to sort of get into it more, to do it on a regular basis, and be more
Yeah.
disciplined about it. So that was the thought behind the whole 21-day meditation thing, which I did last year, where I wanted everybody to experience. They say it takes 21 days to form a habit. Now, I don't know scientifically how that really works, because there were a lot of people who came for that and didn't really follow through after. But I think they say 21 days because it's a good enough period. It's not too long, it's not too short. It's a good enough time period to at least start enjoying whatever it is that you're doing, if you are in that space for it. So I wanted to give people 21 days and see how this works. And I received a lot of positive feedback after that. Positive feedback in the sense, yes, people who hadn't tried meditation before, people who had struggled like me, to sit for meditation on a daily basis. They had some kind of accountability again, on their part. Also, there was accountability because they had committed to this program and they had to come for 15 minutes every day. And so this, whatever I'm doing now, the monthly daily meditation classes is an extension of that, because I thought that it really did benefit a lot of people. 15 minutes was very doable, because if I say that, okay, let's all sit and meditate and just sit and focus on your breath and do a Vipassana thing for a whole 1 hour, nobody will come, including me. Even I can't sit for 1 hour on my own just like that. It's difficult, 15 minutes is very doable. Always with respect to meditation, it's better to start off small. Start off with 5 minutes,
Mm.
start off with 10 minutes, and slowly up it. That holds true for everything, but especially for meditation. That was my whole idea behind this. I didn't see too many classes which only focused on meditation and which focused on meditation for this short span of time. So that was one thought. And the second thought was the fact that uh, there are different techniques in meditation. Okay. So we have mindfulness, you have guided visualization practices, transcendental meditation, whatever, all of these, body awareness, body scan. So there are so many techniques in meditation as well, and all of them have different benefits. And I feel, at least for me personally, I don't feel like if one meditation works for me one day, one technique works one day, the same thing may not work for me the next day, because we're all living in different mind spaces on a day-to-day basis. So I wanted people also to get a taste of all different forms, different techniques in meditation. And if they feel like one technique works for them better than the others, they can then take that forward for their own self practice. So that was my other thought. So these were my uh, thoughts behind really starting this whole 15-minute meditation thing.
Yeah, I resonate 100% with both the points. I just want to add one more thing, that I think 15 minutes is the bare minimum that anybody can take towards their own evolution, right? Like,
Absolutely.
talking about evolution, um, I feel like once someone, like, I learned from you, because we both are, although you will once in a while only, but I knew that someone can live, because back then, when I'm saying 2016 and all, it was all about
Mhm.
very corporatized yoga schools that were known,
Mm.
right? Like either these big banners that we have, but
Mm.
someone who's you can relate with, whom you know as a family
Yeah.
friend, someone whom you've seen all your life. When they teach, it hits a whole different note, and that
Yeah.
again, it's like you know that work that you need to put into yourself, living this life in the society. You don't have to run into an ashram. You don't have to go, like you said, hit on a vipassana 21 days doing meditation all day. I've not done it, but I've just heard from people that they just sit in meditations for 8 hours, 9 hours in a day, and I can't even imagine. Like, I can relate so much with you, because even me, uh, like I've been trying to practice for 8 years, but still there are always a number of thoughts. And 10-15 minutes, I'm like, yeah, I just want to move. And some insight came, or I need to work on that, or it's always like I can't do that long, because one, going to bring a lot of stuff out, because it
Yeah.
again, let's hit that note. I feel like catching this.
Mm.
When people sit for meditation, people are going to think it's going to be la la land, right? But that's
Mm.
not the way it is. It's going to bring
Mm.
out things that you've been storing inside for long, good or bad. So I just want you to
Yes.
share your insights, because you have been working with so many people and yourself also practicing. So about
Yeah, for
meditation.
sure. See, with respect to this is an extension of yoga itself, because yoga, one of the limbs of yoga is your meditation, right? Uh, People think that I know there is a lot of campaigning for meditation saying that, yeah, experience peace and calm through meditation. I think that it's time to break that stereotype, because yes, for sure, ultimately it will lead you to that place where you will find a little more calm and peace in your life. But initially, when you practice, and if you're really practicing seriously, if you're serious about your practice, if you're seriously uh, open to if you're that is if you're following guided meditations, if you're seriously open to the teachers or the practice or the your guides, your instructors voice and their instructions, initially you will always face resistance. Okay, the mind will resist, because the most difficult thing is for us to sit with ourselves, especially when we're engrossed in our daily life, our chores, our work, and all of that. The most difficult thing is to sit with ourselves. It's easy to go and work out. It's easy to go and lift weights. It's easy to go, it's easy to move. It's not easy to sit still, because when you sit still, you are sitting with yourself. You're facing yourself as you are. And the truth about yourself gets mirrored when you sit with yourself, when you sit quietly with your own thoughts. And not all those experiences might be pleasant, because of course we're all human, we're made of good, bad, ugly, all these elements. And this will make you revisit a lot of things about your own emotions, about your own lives, about how you've faced certain situations in your past, about your opinions about your future, all of that. Past traumas will come up, and it should, because it only way to a place is through everything. So you can't directly jump to a place. That's not possible. You have to go through you have to go through that journey. You have to face your demons and get past it. So how yoga works and how meditation works is by rewiring the brain. uh, and the brain always resists change, right? So you're trying to change, you're trying to transform into something else, you're trying to transform into a better version of yourself. And the mind always resists transformation, any sort of change for that matter. So initially you will always be faced with resistance. You'll have uncomfortable thoughts, you'll have anxiety might come up, fear might come up, you might be faced with your past demons. So every time you sit down and you're made to close your eyes, and this is especially true for people who are already going through mental issues, probably if they're going through clinical depression, um, things like that. this will definitely bring up all those stored emotions, everything. You might notice yourself or others breaking into tears. And I've experienced that for myself as well. You just break into tears and you don't even know why. So if that experience happens for you, know that that is a step that you're taking towards your own evolution. That's not something that you have to run away from. You have to face these demons, and then you will learn to go past them and enter a state where you will be able to. So there's this beautiful saying, that before enlightenment, um, carry water, chop wood. I think it goes something like that. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So it's the same thing. Okay, so the things that you do not change. Your daily life does not change. Your chores do not change, but how you experience them completely transforms. So that is what meditation and yoga teaches you. So it's very important to understand that it's not like your life will completely change and you'll be faced with completely different circumstances. It'll be the same circumstances, but you will experience them differently. So yeah, so I think that's a very important thing to address. It's a good thing that you brought that up.
Yeah, and automatically I'm flowing to the next one in your classes only. Again, restorative classes used to take us into these. Usually, it looks simple to do that. Like, probably we're just using some pillows and we're just lying down on a very comfortable position only. But when we are holding that for a while,
Mm,
the entire dynamics starts to change. The body just wants to run away from,
yeah,
even comfortable position. It just wants to
yeah,
do something. So I
yeah.
want to relate with how, meditation, asana, it all comes back to the same. Even asanas are a way back to meditation, right? Because nowadays, I will tell you why I'm asking this. Yoga is asana, right? Like
Mm,
it's put out that way that ah our like I'll use a bit. அவர் வந்து யோகா பண்றாரு meaning
mm,
but this meditation part or pranayama is always in the back burner. And I how do we relate with all of this, right? Like um because I've been in your classes, I know how this correlates, but just to bring it out
mm.
to anybody who's serious and is watching this until this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, See, yeah, of course, when people say, like you said, yoga பண்றேன் நான் வந்து okay நான் என்னோட யோகாக்கு போறேன் means you're doing asana practice. But see, I don't want to be judgmental here. I don't want to say that it is wrong because that is what
Yeah.
people are able to relate with. Okay, so
Hmm.
it's simple. Now, in any sort of like when you're starting yoga, okay, the beauty about yoga is it can meet you where you are at. Where
Hmm.
are you right now? Right now, you identify with your body. You think that you think that Varun is your body. This is me, this flesh and blood, these two hands, these two legs, this is me. If your identification with the body is what it is right now, it can meet you there through your asana practice. But what it also does is through sustained practice, uh, you will then slowly start to move into subtler limbs. You will slowly, with time, realize that actually, when I'm doing this on the inhalation, it's so much better. When I'm able to do, when I'm able to exhale and then hold this pose, I'm able to hold for much longer. You'll be able to observe small things like when the teacher says inhale and you lift your hands up, you'll notice that with time your movement becomes slower because your inhalation is becoming so much smoother. All that happens without you even noticing it. Then there will come a point when you will start to notice that about yourself. So then you move into the pranayama, the breath aspect of it, which is subtler than the body. Then that takes you into subtler and subtler limbs because the system of yoga itself is so beautiful that it moves from the gross to the subtle. So it does not matter if right now if you think that yoga is asana, it's okay. That is how yoga is able to speak to you right now. It's fine. Do your asanas. It has great benefits on the body. It has great benefits physiologically and physically. So do your asana practice, and then but do it sustained. and then at some point you will start to be drawn towards the subtler limbs. So like you mentioned, restorative and more so yin kind of practices, those are very confronting, because again you're putting yourself in a position which is not the most comfortable position, because you are looking for sensation still. So I don't know, if you're sitting in like some sort of a forward fold, say you're crossing your legs and folding down, it is still not, it's not, you're not chilling, you're still doing something, you're working on some part of your body. So there is some the body is still speaking to you, saying that, okay, you know what, okay, let's get out of this. But it is it is about how, so over time you will notice that it is about how much you're able to withstand discomfort and be at peace, just sit with your discomfort. The longer you're able to do that, the more also you strengthen your mind, and you're able to translate that off the mat. And when you are faced with uncomfortable situations in your life, you're able to deal with them with a certain sense of calm and dispassion without reacting to it. So, what these slower practices teach you is to be comfortable with discomfort without reacting to it. So, reacting means, okay, okay, now, okay, enough. Now, how long am I here? I want to run away from this pose. So, without, your mind will still tell you all these things. Okay, you know what, how long is the time up? Okay, I need to prepare dinner, I need to go check if my child is back from school, all your day-to-day troubles that are very much present will start bogging you down. But how much can you just say, okay, you know what, I've dedicated this time to myself, and so let me sit with myself and my thoughts here. Okay, I'm having these thoughts. I'm thinking about dinner. I am thinking about, what's going to happen when my kids come back. I'm thinking about what is at store for me tomorrow at work. I'm aware that I'm thinking all these things, but I'm still sitting with that. Whether it is the physical discomfort, maybe you have tight hips that day and you're not able to do a certain, you're feeling a little uncomfortable in that pose. Whether it is that discomfort or mental discomfort, how long are you able to just sit with that discomfort without fidgeting, without wanting to run away from it? So every pose, I would say, is like a relationship, right? So you sit it out without bailing out during tough situations. So treat every posture like a relationship, because the way you are on your mat is the way you present yourself in life as well. So yeah, so that's in short about how restorative practices work, and how it works deeply on the mind as well. It's not just the physical aspect of it. So a lot of people have actually come back to me and said that, dynamic classes are so much easier. Like, when you're moving, a vinyasa practice, which evidently looks a lot more challenging because you're doing a lot more there. But they say that that is a lot simpler for me than just sitting down and doing a posture and just sitting in that for a long time. I can't sit. I'm not able to. It's not possible. So yeah, so I think it helps a lot in strengthening the mind. It's like a workout for the mind.
Yeah, and again, connecting back to the beauty of how, in fact, I told you how I wanted to name this the first episode of Change Makers of India, or begin with Chennai or Tamil Nadu, because 15 minutes you can sit, right? With
Mm,
guidance, you can sit with yourself instead of going out and doing your asana and then pranayama, which I guess during the class also you take us through a little bit so that the body is
mm,
ready for that. So again, just connecting it all back to the viewers, and just flowing with the conversation, that 15 minutes, when we are able to do that, it's very much achievable by anyone, right?
yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you're just going in the circles, holding your negative emotions and your thoughts without even knowing how to release it. Sometimes we outburst on
Mm,
people. Again, a
mm,
beautiful point you brought out, not to judge anyone here, because we've all been through it, we're all going through it, and it just is a part of the way how things pan out in each one's life. But
yeah,
once you start taking this decision to at least sit for that 15 minutes, then all of this starts to get a relief, right? So
yeah,
again,
absolutely.
again, connecting it back get back to why would someone living in the society want all this, right? Because immediately what people throw labels on you, saying that okay, this person is going to go there, going to go into some place, like all of that. But I feel living in the society only we need more. Like in the ashram, things are much more disciplined, and everybody, like, again, not to judge, but it's a little more systemized. But
Mm.
here there is a lot more chaos, right? You go on
Absolutely.
the road, it's madness.
Yeah.
You have a bad day, it's madness. You
Yeah.
have to deal with family again. They are
Yeah.
expecting you, and then not every time your finances are going to be fine.
Yeah.
But all of these are taken care in a systemized society, like for example an ashram or a retreat or somewhere. But
Yeah.
again, you have to come back and play your roles, right? Like these roles are waiting for you, because I've
Absolutely.
seen you literally evolve. Like I used to see you as the person who used to go to work, at least from the times I remember, and then you evolved
Mm.
into being a teacher, and then now first kid happened, wedding. I was there for the wedding. Then first kid happened, and the second kid happened. You took a break, and in fact, you lost practice, right? I don't know how you kept. This is something that we don't know, but you again came back to practice, and you are at your best. I just can feel it energy wise itself, like how you started switching yourself up after your second baby. So again, I feel to live in this society only we need this 15 minutes of at least self evolution, right? So I would love
Yeah.
to hear from you, because you, again, in my eyes, you have been a forefront. Like you are walking your path, we are all walking our own path. But um, because you have seen the benefits of this, you talking about it will
Yes.
be the best, I feel. Yeah.
Yeah. There are so many layers to what you've just said. Yeah, for sure. I completely agree that people who live in amidst all this chaos need it the most. And yeah, they will actually be able to tap into that spirituality, as we call it, much more
Wow.
than if you're sitting in a peaceful beautiful environment, because that is a feel good. You're feeling good,
Mm,
everything is beautiful around you, everything is positive around you, people are, the surroundings are lovely, the weather is lovely, everybody is lovely. But you don't really, to really thrive in yourself, in your own um, evolution, I think you need to be able to navigate the chaos of everyday life. And this is, of course, if you choose to be a grihastha, if you choose to be a householder, which most of us are. I think the most of us who are even listening to this might be,
yeah.
um, or if you want to be a grihastha at least. Uh,
Mm,
it is very important to look at this in a different way. Okay, like for example, so I used to, like you very rightly said, I used to practice. I left corporate life. I started teaching yoga, and um, then first, I got married, first baby happened, all of that. Through all of that, my focus was mostly on asana practice, because I mean, that's how everybody enters yoga. At least most people that I know of, they enter through the body. And even, so it was, the focus was a lot on the physical aspect of yoga. And then after the baby happens, you could start to question a lot of things, especially if you're a teacher or a yoga abhyasi. A lot of your physical practice becomes very constrained. You can't do what you did before. You don't have that kind of time, because yoga takes a lot of time. Whether you're a practitioner, even more so when you're a teacher, you might be teaching just 1 hour a day, but you have your study, self study, your practice, all of that takes up a lot of time. And yoga is a way of life, right? At the end of the day, it's not something that you do behind closed doors for 1 hour and come back. It's something that you're living. And and more as you evolve in this journey, you start to question everything that you're doing. Oh, okay, am I how can I employ the principles of yoga in this aspect of my life? So it's a very slow and gradual evolution, but it's so beautiful, because there comes a time in every householder's journey where they're like, you know what, I don't know, I don't have time for my practice. I have so many of these things. I can't just up and go when I want to go. When I can't just up and go for a retreat when I want to. I can't do most of the classes that I want to do. There are so many teachers out there whom I want to learn from, and I can't just get up, leave everything here, and go. So we start to question, okay, you know, am I really evolving in my practice? Am I, you know, what if that's it, this is my journey, and I just end here. So a lot of this doubt starts to crop up, but slowly start to gain clarity. Someone beautifully said that the highest yoga is, I'm not saying that parenting is end all, but this is especially for the householders, because I think this is mostly applicable to them, because your life changes completely. Your time is not your time anymore. So the highest yoga is parenting. So yoga is not just what you do on the mat. Yoga is how you apply to every aspect of your life, which brings us to this question of, you know, vairagya, dispassion. How do we apply that in as a household? How can you be disconnected from your kids? You can't be unattached from your family, from your spouse, from your kids. You can't do that. Then how do you apply the principles of yoga? For every phase in your life, there is a different concept that you have to look at it differently. So when you're living in the family life, it is not vairagya so much as devotion. So everything that you do, if you do it with a sense of devotion, when you're attending to your kids, when you're attending to your family duties, when you do it with a sense of devotion, that is your yoga. Okay. And then apart from that, whatever you're able to do, however you're able to evolve in your personal physical practice, your practice, your study, and all of that is great. But you learn to accept a lot of these things, and that is your evolution. Okay, so that is different for a person who wants to renounce everything. It could look differently for that person, and it could look very differently for a householder. But nobody is the lesser or the greater yogi. I think um, everybody who's chosen to be on this path of self improvement is a practitioner by their own right. So that's what happened to me as well. I mean, you know, life has taken over. Uh, Two kids have happened, and then your maturity also increases, your understanding of things increase. So the way you deal with things is a lot more. You begin that restlessness which you had before slowly starts to dissipate, and you're able to accept whatever comes with grace, and for everything else, you know, you accept whatever is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it answers. I just want to tiptoe into the charge of this 15 days. Um,
Hmm.
15 minutes, 21 days is 500. I want to cover this because, again,
800.
me personally, 800,
800.
sorry. Me
Yeah.
personally,
Yeah.
ever since I started out to teach and all, I have been facing a lot of challenges in terms of, people questioning the charge for a yoga class.
Yeah.
But I also resonate with one post you made, I think 3, 4 years back, which still stays in my heart, that we ourselves, to learn all of this, have invested so many resources into this, right? That's
Yeah.
one aspect. It didn't come for free, right?
Yeah.
Right. Number two is that there is always a commitment from someone, only when there is an exchange from their side as well. If things are
Yes.
being given to you just like on the platter, and you're having
Hmm.
like one sweet, and then you're like, this one's good, next one's a little, like, second day of practice, something didn't work. Maybe they didn't feel the way it was the first day. Then third day they might not show up because there is no commitment, financial commitment from their side as well. Like, that is not nothing that they part took away from them. Like,
Hmm.
again, going back to the financial, the money part of things, it's just energy which is flowing. It's just flowing from one person to the other. But
Hmm.
I feel like 800 is again something that everybody can still afford. But looking at 800 or even say 1000 rupees, because we've spoken about this offline, but people are offering yoga for free, meditation for free, and all of that. But again, coming back to, for example, in my classes, I charge them 3,333. Like that, I feel it's still a lot less to the kind of value that the universe is creating through us, because we are also these instruments, right? It's not our this thing. It's just that we've
Yeah.
invested so much time and effort into learning this, practicing this, like you said, from this very podcast. It's not like I just love that. It's not like something you do behind the room and then you're like, wow, I'm teaching you
Yeah.
this. It's not like that. It,
Yeah.
it is testing you every moment, right? Like every
Yeah.
moment, even now, it's testing me how patiently can I sit with you and listen to you instead of throwing my stuff
Mm.
out, right?
Yeah.
So it's a way of life. I want to touch that also, but again, I wanted to just touch upon this, whatever you have to share from your heart, so that like people know that that they what they're paying is what they get in return is like multifold, and 800 is another investment, right? It's not like something they're just giving off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, I think, especially in India, I think we need to go a long way because I think our culture itself is so deeply rooted in philosophy and spirituality. I think, that we don't see the value of paying for it. But the Westerners see the value in it because they're not rooted in that culture in the first place. So I think it stems from that basically. If you go to the US, my I was just talking to a couple of my friends the other day, and uh, if you go to the US, the amount that they spend on yoga classes is crazy. And over there, yoga is viewed as something that only the rich and the elite do. Okay, which is so funny. But anyway, coming back to your point, yes, there is this side that, I mean, being a yoga teacher is not cheap. Oh, I mean, I think this has to really go out there to people. People think that, oh, what investment does she have? She just sits here and, and does. No, I mean, the amount of money, these courses are not cheap. The courses
Yeah.
that we do, and we have to constantly keep updating us. It's like being a doctor. I'm not comparing the two, but it is like that. You have to upgrade. You have to keep replenishing your knowledge and your teaching methods. You have to practice, for which you need to look out for a teacher whom you can practice with. So this is it's not cheap being a teacher at all, even if you're taking classes online. But of course, now I'm not saying that, okay, because it's not cheap for me, people have to see the value, and people will only pay if they see a value in what I'm giving. But that value will not come immediately. Like if you go and lift weights for 1 month in the gym, you will see some muscles coming up, but that's not, I can't guarantee that in yoga. There's so many people who will come and say, you know what, can we I want to lose weight. I put on a lot of weight and I want to lose like 10 kilos in 1 month or whatever, it doesn't work like that. I mean, I feel bad for them because that's the perception they have of yoga, and that's how, I don't know. It's a false perception. We've all had false perceptions about yoga. So that's the perception they have. But I think as teachers and as abhyasis, it is our responsibility to spread the right knowledge. And this is, see, yoga, meditation, pranayama, all of these work on a subtle level ultimately. On the physical level, your physical practice will give you some benefits, will give you physiological benefits. It can also be used as a therapy for different things. But going past all this, when you work on this on a long term, especially meditation, like you mentioned, for the meditation classes exclusively, 800 rupees is nothing. Okay, it's nothing. Like people spend that on one Swiggy order. Okay, you order tea for 5 people, and tea and samosa for 5 people, and it becomes 800 rupees. So Why can't you invest on that much for yourself for a whole month? And okay, it's not, the reason why I think people hesitate is because it's not tangible. It's not something that you can touch and feel and you can say, okay, if you buy tea, you can drink that tea and say that, okay, this is what I bought. But you can't say that for something like this. This is something that you have to feel from inside, and it's experiential. And but once you start having that experience, once you open yourself enough to the practice and you start to have that experience, then no amount of money will be a lot. I would say, of course, everybody has to work with the resources that they have, but the value that this gives to your life is priceless. Because, and I can say this because you and I, you as well, you've also personally experienced the benefits of your yoga practice, your meditation practice. But it's a journey, it's an ongoing journey which doesn't stop. You can't say that, oh, okay, 3-month hack, 3 months and you will like lose this much weight and that's your thing. No, this is a lifelong journey, and you have to stick it out. So for all those watching, do not hesitate to pay your yoga. Of course, ask questions. I do not believe that you should hero worship your yoga teacher at all. They are human beings just like everyone else. They are also doing their job. Question, ask the right questions, um, and choose a teacher who resonates with you. But do not hesitate in paying that money. We spend so much on things that are, that are so fleeting. But this is something that is permanent, that will stay with you forever. So don't hesitate to pay that, whatever. 800 bucks is nothing. But I'm not saying you should come to my class only, but any class, that you go to, any teacher that you resonate with, don't hesitate to pay them. It's like you mentioned, it's an energy exchange. It's You can't get anything for free in life. Everything has a cost, whether it's a monetary cost or cost otherwise, that you have to decide. But even the ones who are teaching free, there is some cost involved. Ultimately, there is, yeah, nothing in life comes free. So yeah, knowledge being one of the most invaluable things. Knowledge, wisdom, being one of the most invaluable things. So that is not something that you should slack on at all.
It's just hit a very
So for the ones who are
in,
also, who are looking at your classes as well, I think 3333 per month. I think you charge for
yeah, yeah, per month.
personal sessions and this thing. Yeah, that is a that is a pittance. That's the cost of one dinner. For most people. So don't hesitate. That's for a whole month, and that's for yourself. Do it consistently, and at some point it's different for each person, but 2 months, 3 months, whatever, give yourself that time, and then you'll begin to notice the subtle changes in you. It may not be visible outside, but you will notice it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's been a very intense reminder for me personally, because now it's been 2 months of teaching. People come and say that their anxiety has reduced, their weight has reduced, their face is starting to glow, this, that. And I was just trying to run away from all this feedback because, again, I don't want to get attached to it. But to remind them of the fact that, see what is happening subtly inside you, is
Yeah.
something that I am taking back from this
And
conversation.
it's a great thing, that it's a big achievement that the people whom you're teaching, your students, are able to even recognize this about themselves. Because the first step, or the most difficult step, according to me, is to understand or observe these changes and put them into words. Because half the time we don't know what's going on with ourselves. We are in denial about the things that we're going through most of the times. So to first of all acknowledge that, accept that, oh yeah, you know what, I used to really have so much anxiety about these things. I'm able to slow down, observe my response to these situations, and then I'm able to explain them and put it out there. and say that, yeah, I'm able to observe these changes about myself. That in itself is a success. You're able to even observe. How many people are able to observe themselves in situations? People just react. It's such a reactionary world. So, yeah, that in itself is a success, I feel.
Yeah. Like there are so many tangents I want to explore with you, but I feel like there is a lot that you've shared, and I want people to sit with this, watch this. Like whoever has come till this point will definitely have had an impact. Like I have, there's a lot of things that have shifted in me. I am going to sit and watch this again. So I know there is a huge funny side to you. Like this is so heavy, this is so deep.
Yeah. Like they say,
Anything you
the
want
only way to get through spirituality and keep your sanity is humor. You
yeah.
can't, otherwise, you'll lose it.
Yeah, like anytime I know I can open your stories, it's not going to be like out of four times, it is going to be one or two times about yoga, your classes, but two other times it's just going to be fun. Like so relatable content with what is going on in your life, and that's a meme, and we can relate so much. And every time it's a banger, like you will laugh for sure. So anything you want to share on the lighter note for the audience, because I feel like it's naturally coming to a close. How do you feel? Is there anything you want to share? Because um, there are so many words you put out there. I want to explain each of these words, like get into the depth of it, but I just want to save it for future when universe allows, because there's a lot depth that we've already touched, and to
Hmm.
process this first, at least
Yeah.
personally for me, I just want to sit with this, um, all the learnings that you've given. And that's how I also wanted to start out with podcast, because I felt like there is a creative flow that touches you when we are flowing like this in a conversation. Because see, in class also you share all this knowledge, which which has benefited me a lot. And
Hmm.
sitting down and having this one-to-one conversation is also like very intense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
anything on the lighter note you want to share to people? Anything on a lighter note, on a jovial note, like your funny side?
Oh God, no. That funny side doesn't come like on demand like that. It just happens. So that's the great thing about having kids. So it keeps a child alive in you, and you're able to see the fun in things which could otherwise be very stressful. So they keep that funny side in me alive. So usually it's about them, as you would know. So the things that I post is something that one of them is up to, and yeah, especially the younger one. The elder one is still a little serious. He's a little bit more zen, but the younger one is a
Yeah.
riot. So she helps me connect with that jungly side. So yeah, I mean, have for all of those who wonder whether having kids will hamper their life in any way. No, just have them. It's a lot of fun. Just learn to have fun with them. I don't know if this is on the lighter note or not, but it
Yeah.
does definitely keep the child. I think having that child alive inside you is very, very important
Yeah. I was
for any kind of.
at festival
Yeah.
recently, and we did a
Mm.
one inner child session, and they asked me to write down the name of my inner child. Like, ask your inner child what its nickname is, and you won't believe what the answer came out. We were in the middle of a jungle.
Mm.
I don't know if I even asked, is it like getting inspired by? The answer came Tarzan. I was like,
Tarzan.
what, yeah. Like, what does a Tarzan do back in
Perfect.
the city? Yeah. And then
Uh,
now I do understand that recently I got this little plant, and I just finally got myself growing something, and I feel very connected with all of this back in the city. And like you said, here's where the real challenge is also. And
mm.
again, about uh, life outside Rasta happens naturally, right? It's not something
Yeah.
that you push yourself into. Life pulls
Mm,
you, and you honestly move naturally into it. That's what I
mm,
also understood. So again, life pushed me back to the city after all the travel, and
mm.
I'm just trying to find some release for this Tarzan that I'm holding inside. So,
Yeah, that's wonderful. No, I think that balance is required. I think you're discovering your path, I think, very beautifully. And you're sharing that very beautifully as well. You're not keeping it with yourself, you're sharing it. And I think that will really take you places. It's very
yeah.
inspiring, your journey. And like, I like to see your posts and I like to see where you're going next and what you're doing next. And yeah, sometimes too intense, but
Sometimes 9 reels
but
a day.
sometimes I'm just like, oh my God, he's just in his 20s, or in your 20s, right? Still? Yeah, like he's still
I
in his
hit my
20s.
30.
He's got a long way to go for all of this.
I
But
just hit my 30. Like this year, I'm 31. Again, the conversation of marriage is just things haven't come together for me, and I feel like each one has their own timeline. Last thing I wanted to touch is about, like I realized you did a 10 days conscious eating, right? Like you used to share what you eat
yeah, so I wouldn't want to use the word conscious eating because I think
mindful.
you are part of this group which is into conscious eating. What I did was not, I don't know whether to call it conscious eating in that context, but it's more of
Yeah,
mindful eating. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
was that your question? You want me to elaborate
No,
on
no.
that?
Yeah. So I was just going to complete that. When I was traveling, I understood that conscious eating is not possible. Like there are, it's a battle. Like it's a debate. People will try to tell you how you can still maintain. But for me personally, that was not possible. That was
Hmm.
practical because I wanted to try other cuisines. I wanted to live different cultures altogether and
Yeah,
everything. So
absolutely.
that's when on the mindful eating came into being able to eat mindfully is more important than what you even put inside. I realize, like even if you eat oily
Absolutely.
food or even if you eat
Hmm.
something that is termed not so healthy, like for example I recently put a story or something where I kept a vada and one aplam and I said this is a healthy meal, where I presented the entire
Hmm.
South Indian meal and I said because you worked in this before, you also have experience in this,
Hmm.
and people just can't accept that it is healthy. Boss, it is healthy as long as you are moderating it, as long as you are mindful about it, as long as you are not daily craving for it, and like because this, anyways, you have it inside that you want to have this, you want to have a vada, you want to have an aplam, and that desire is
Yes,
not going to leave you,
definitely.
right? Like
I'm
someday or the other,
completely
it is
with
going
that.
to be.
See, so I think unpopular opinion, but I think the real poison is the mind.
Hmm.
That's not to say that you should sit with a bag of chips every day, but I think the real poison is the mind. If you're eating anything and you eat with, because it's all energy, right? It's all energy going in anyway. So if you're eating, what are you thinking about when you're eating? What are you, yeah, what are your emotions and thoughts while you're eating? That is what goes in and converts into whatever. Of course, this is I'm talking about for a regular healthy person, not for a person who's battling some disease and who has a certain diet to follow. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about for a regular individual. I think, see, again, this comes from the yogic wisdom, from whatever I have assimilated from that with respect to food. If you see, yoga doesn't emphasize so much on food. There is not like, okay, you can't eat this, you can eat this, you can't eat this. There is no can't, and it's just classified as yogic diet. That's all. Basically, your food is there to nourish your body, and if you think too much about food, whether you're obsessed about eating junk or whether you're obsessed about eating healthy, I think both are obsessions and both are not. good, according to me. Um, yeah, our body is temporary. We're all born, so we're all going to die. We're all going to perish. Of course, within that, it is important for us to keep this body as healthy as we can. That being said, I think this over obsession with health and over obsession with what I'm eating, oh, this is how many calories, this is how many how much protein am I getting in, how much this thing, I think that becomes a sickness in itself. I can't do it. I'm sure there are people who've done it and who benefited from it, but talking from personal experience. I cannot do it. So that mindful eating again was accountability, like touching back on accountability, which we spoke about in the beginning of class. I did that mainly for accountability, because I'm putting something out there and I'm telling people that for 21 days I'm going to, tell you what I'm eating. So that really helped me because it helped me become more mindful. If you saw those posts, it was not like I was eating very healthy or I was eating only like, whatever. I was eating regular food. In fact, some of those days I actually went overboard also. But it is about knowing what you're eating, knowing that, okay, and tuning in. So, what that helped me with, which is still date applicable for me, which really helped me, was that I started to tune into my body more. I began to understand to feed the body when it was hungry and not according to a clock. So if I'm used to, that happens with a lot of us, especially when we're living a routine. Okay, I have to go to work, therefore I have to eat my breakfast before 9 o'clock, and then I come. My lunch break is at 1:30, so I have to eat lunch then, and then my dinner is at so and so time. So it becomes like this. You're not tuning into your body. Does your body really need it right now? And when I actually started doing that, I realized that most of the times when we think that we have to eat now, the body actually doesn't require it. So I think tuning into that inner wisdom is more important uh, than following timelines or fads or diets or anything like that.
Yeah, I really wanted to put this out because personally, I've been in both the extremes and you know it. You've personally
Yeah,
seen me do this comedy, right? So it just doesn't work, guys. Like, honestly, what you're saying is so true. At some point, it just not going to work. So just moderate your life, and like you said, just have that accountability and just be honest with yourself. Some days you eat more, that's okay, right? Don't get guilty,
yeah,
and don't think like you have to overwork out for that. But
yeah,
it has its own beautiful natural ways, and of taking you through this journey of ultimately to yourself, from the
yeah,
physical to your
absolutely.
life.
Yeah,
So all of this then becomes a barrier to that journey, which was the main reason why you started all of
exactly. So while your focus should be on personal growth, it becomes all about what's on your plate.
uh,
So I think that's a disease in itself. This could be unpopular opinion again, because I think a lot of people are into this very healthy eating, no oil cooking and all of that. Great, it might work for them. I'm not going to judge her at all, but it
yeah,
doesn't work for me. It doesn't.
yeah, yeah. Find your personal swadharma, right? Like
Yeah,
find your
absolutely.
personal space.
Yeah,
So yeah, I,
that's
I
true.
I wanted to touch base, like I told you, on so many things, so many words you brought had so many things. For example, how yoga is mainly off the mat and all that. I just want to save it to another episode if God wills and you also allow. But for
Yep.
now, I feel like there is a lot of depth that has been brought out and very practical stuff like about food to begin with. And I just want this to be out there for anybody to know. And a shout out to your 15 minutes thing, which is a game changer. You don't have to do a 45 minutes. All that you have in a day is 15 minutes. Sit down,
Yes.
sit with yourself. You're that well.
Yeah.
You've been practicing
The
and
best thing
teaching
is
for
also
more
that
than a
I
decade now,
record
all
this.
put
I've
together.
made it easier for the students to practice, where I record them. So even people who are not able to practice it at that particular time, A lot of them actually do. They take the recordings. They even listen to it before they sleep at night. So yeah, that way it's very flexible. Unlike an asana practice, you don't have to necessarily be on an empty stomach. You don't have to be energetic. You don't have any. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be. That's all. Just be. So yeah. So that's in short about the
So,
meditation
thank
classes. Do join it for
yeah,
all of
and
those who are watching.
I want to give an add-on is just don't stop with that. Do classes with you because there will be a lot of learnings in the class also. And whether it's the hatha classes that you've taken us into or the vinyasas that you've practiced literally for more than a decade now, or these yin yogas, you're the first one who introduced that to me, and such a game changer. Even now, whenever I feel like, and you used to tell during class back then only, practice until you get to a point where you know what you want to do for yourself that day, right? Like learn
Yeah.
from my classes until you know. So even nowadays, when I know that this is something going wrong, I just go and do what you've taught. So that's how I'm
Mm.
integrating the practice. So this is something I want to tell everyone that just don't stop with the 15 minutes meditation can be an entry point into your teachings, because again we didn't cover this at all, is the fact that it's not the same thing every day. You just touch base upon it, that each day you get to experience, like you took it very progressive, right? Like from a very basic way how to start your meditations, and towards the
Yeah.
last 21 days we were going to a little intense ones also. So
Yes.
do try it out. It is full practice by its own, but at the same time, siphon yourself, unfold yourself into asana, pranayama with Rasika. So this is my
Definitely.
um, outpouring as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Rasika. Is there anything else you want to
Thank
share
you.
with people? Yeah.
I mean, no, I mean, what you want to share can be an endless ocean, but yeah, we'll take it one step at a time. We're teachers, no, we're constantly giving gyan. So enough of
This is the funny side. I wanted to close it and it came out.
yeah. No, I think enough of gyan. I think people can go live their lives. If you want to meditate, meditate. If you want to practice yoga, practice. But it's good for you. Do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Rasika. I'll
All
just
right.
close
Thank you
the
so much,
call right
Varun.
now.
Had a great time.
You too. Bye, Ka.
Bye. Bye.
And that's it, our people. If you love this, do not forget to subscribe and keep updated with everything that we do. And if you love to be on the podcast, or you know someone who needs to be on the podcast, do let us know in the comments section, and let us know with some more feedback on how we can improve, on how I can take this further. Thank you so much for your time. I'll see you once again later. For now, signing off from you, this is R. Varuneshwaran from the Ra Yoga family. Hari Om Tat Sat.